Hi everyone, and welcome back to National Graduate Week 2022. I'm Eloise from Career Map, and today we have a session with Aldi, a really exciting look into the first 12 months as an Aldi Area Manager. So I hope you're really excited already to hear. Oh, I can see all of you saying hi already. Hi everyone, and yeah, I hope you're really excited to hear all of the insights and advice you're going to get. Just to let you know that this will be recorded, so if you can't keep up with your notes, if there's stuff you want to come back to, you will have the recording to come back to. There will also be a QR code later that you'll be able to scan and go and find out more information. And if you have any technical difficulties, if you can't hear us, can't see us, or anything, let me know in the chat and I will keep an eye on it. Questions, definitely put them in throughout as and when they come up. If you think of a question, drop it in the chat and we will either get to it throughout the presentation. The speakers will maybe address your question if it's relevant to what they're saying, or at the end. So we'll definitely try and get to you either way. You can either put that in the chat or use the Q&A function. That's up to you. And yeah, that is all from me. So without further ado, I will now hand over to Tammy and Vicky to take you into their presentation. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you for your patience and for joining us today for our webinar, which is entitled A Year Like No Other. So we've got a jam-packed hour. I say hour, we're a few moments short because of the technical glitch, but we will make up time, I'm sure, throughout. But the time we have together is jam-packed, so we've got lots of things in store for you during our time together. But we'll start with some brief introductions. So in the virtual room with us today, we have couple of members of the recruitment team, myself and my colleague Tammy, and dialing in is Jake, who you'll see on screen, who is a current graduate area manager within our Swindon region. So Tammy and myself work within the HR function of Aldi, and we are based in Bolton. So we manage the end-to-end process of every application that we receive for all graduate and career changer area managers and our placements across all of our Great Britain regions. So the HR department, we look after all elements of the employee life cycle. So that's everything from attraction, recruitment, training, career progression, health, well-being and benefits for over 38,000 of our colleagues. So as I said, during the next hour, we aim to provide you with an overview of Aldi, our graduate opportunities, and what makes us an award-winning graduate employer. You will also get to hear, as I said, from some of our current graduate area manager colleagues, and we'll even give you some insider information, hints and tips of how to apply and what to expect during our recruitment process. Finally, we'll end our time together with a Q&A session. We very much understand that there's lots to consider when you're applying for your graduate role. And some of you may not have been through a recruitment process quite like this before. So this really is your opportunity to ask us as many questions as you like. You can either drop the questions into the chat function or we'll open up the floor at the end for you to ask any questions you like. So that's what we're here for over the next hour, to give you as many answers as we can. So next up then, why join #TeamAldi on our graduate program? So here's some of the reasons why Aldi means more. We invest heavily in our people, so we work really, really hard to maintain our corporate responsibilities and are really proud of our awards and our credentials. At Aldi, we know that our success can't be possible without our amazing colleagues, which is why our staff benefits span across much more. Across discounts, finance, well-being, fitness, and lots more. So we understand that amazing doesn't happen overnight, which is why we are making changes to be greener, fairer, and healthier every day. From sourcing sustainable produce, reducing the plastic and packaging waste, working with amazing charities and having partnerships with the likes of Team GB to ensure that we are constantly working on making these changes every day. So our credentials speak for themselves, which probably alludes to why we've got over 700 people checking us out today. But we're really proud to be awarded recently in the Grocer Gold Award as Employer of Choice. And we're consistently being placed in the Times Top 100 for graduate employers. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through the next slide, which takes a little look at some of the minimum requirements and what we're looking for our graduate area managers. So you will see on screen, we need our candidates to be working towards a 2-1 degree, and this can be in any discipline at all. You will need to have 96 UCAS points or 63 Scottish Highers or the equivalent from your top 3 qualifications, A-levels, Highers or international qualifications. You'll also need to hold a full UK driving licence and have right to work in the UK. And be ready to take on a challenge, as we're looking for individuals who use their initiative to always strive for smarter and simpler ways of doing things. At the end of the day, we are a cost-saving business and always looking for ways to improve our efficiencies. So let's talk about why Aldi then. Why join our graduate programme? We know there's lots out there. You have got lots of choice at your fingertips. Well, really, it's the responsibility, the exposure, the training, and of course, the salary and the car do help. But top of your list should be the opportunity to give more, get involved, and get even more back. So there's no typical day for an area manager, which I'm sure Jake will take us through when he has his slide further on down the webinar. But essentially, you'll be out and about visiting your stores, meeting your store colleagues, ensuring that the stores are meeting their KPIs and that your teams are feeling really supported. Some of the key areas of responsibility will include maximising sales, staff development, coaching and holding regular updates with your store managers to really develop their leadership qualities. Life at Aldi is fast-paced, so you'll need to be able to think on your feet and use your initiative to manage and continually improve our stores, all while being a positive role model for our store colleagues. You'll ensure that our store environments offer our customer an everyday amazing experience and seek ways to minimise costs, improve efficiencies and grow your area's sales. Of course, we will provide lots of training and help you succeed in the role. You'll complete a year like no other, which is a training program where you'll experience store life by working on the store floor, getting an in-depth understanding of our stores and how they operate. You'll be given lots of support from your store operations director, other experienced area managers and mentors along the way. As you'll see from the image on screen, we offer a rewarding and varied benefits package, but don't just take my word for it. We're going to show you a little video which was made by some of our current graduate area managers.
What makes Aldi different is how much responsibility they give to each and every one of us in the business, and with that comes a lot of trust.
3 months into your training, you could be running the store on your own, responsible for ordering all the stock, making sure the staff are happy.
Aldi really believes that young people can do great things.
It's definitely something that excited me and attracted me to the role.
I felt really supported at Aldi. From day one, you're paired up with your mentor who is with you throughout your whole journey.
You develop a really strong network with your peers, you can always pick up the phone to them.
But you all work part of a team towards the common goal.
I really valued my time in store because I think it's a really important part of you learning the practical day-to-day of the store operations.
It was actually really exciting and I really enjoyed it.
It's a change every single day and that variety really attracted me to the role.
The final review for me was a moment where I gained real.
Okay, so you heard from some of our graduate area managers, and we are really lucky to have a real area manager in the room with us today. Jake's been kind enough to give us some of his time. So I'll now hand over to Jake, who will bring the role to life.
Hi everyone. So I am Jake Kennedy. I am an area manager with Aldi. So I am responsible for 3 stores currently. So I have 2 stores on the Isle of Wight and 1 store in Southampton. I'm currently in the process of opening a 2nd store in Southampton. So very exciting. On the screen, you can see a brief overview of kind of what I've done and where I've been. So I attended Oxford Brookes University and I studied international business management. In my course, I had the option to do a placement and I chose Aldi for the placement. Very similar reasons to the graduate scheme, that it was kind of an entrance onto the graduate scheme, as that was always my end goal and what I was working towards. So I was fortunate enough to return as an area manager in October 2021, so just a year ago. I've worked in a whole range of stores kind of across the Swindon region. So Swindon as a region kind of covers southwest kind of portion of the country. So I've worked in Aylesbury, Reading, Bicester, Buckingham, Windsor, Wokingham, Newbury, Bracknell, and now obviously Southampton and the Isle of Wight. So my biggest achievements in Aldi was kind of leading teams across the Aylesbury stores. So I worked in a store that took over £400,000 a week. Although that might not sound that much to some of you who don't understand the terms, in Aldi terms, that's a lot of money for a store. I got to spend 3 months over Christmas working in the trading department. So that was a great insight, learning about how all the ordering for Christmas works, how the logistics works, everything from the warehouse side. And then, so I get to open a brand new Southampton store in 2023, which I'm super lucky and fortunate that the business has trusted me as a 24-year-old to kind of be a part of, considering that the building's probably worth a few million and we're expecting to take near 500,000 a week. So it's a massive compliment and also opportunity for me. I get to go to loads of recruitment events. So like this one today, I've done recruitment events in Oxford University, speaking to other area managers. And then also with Aldi, I raised £500 for November last year. So hoping to kind of do the same this year. Perfect. So that's kind of who I am. As an area manager, as I said, kind of your day-to-day definitely changes a lot. On the Aldi website, it has a kind of great overview of what your first year would look like as an area manager. I'll kind of go through what my first year looked like and what it could look like for you. So when you join Aldi, obviously you have no experience because you could be from any degree, and that's completely beneficial. Area managers come from a wide range of backgrounds. Some of my best friends in Aldi have done English degrees, language degrees, teaching degrees. I happen to do a business degree, but definitely not a requirement to be an area manager. It's definitely who you are as a person and your personality that makes you a good leader, not what you've studied at university. So for the first kind of 6 months, what you get to do is you go into a store. So our ethos in Aldi is you'll never do the job of someone whose job you haven't done before. So you go in store day one as a store assistant. So you're going to go into the store and you're going to stock the shelf. You're going to be the one cleaning up the milk. You're going to be the one doing all of the hard work and doing everything from the ground up. So you do that for a few weeks. You then go up to do a deputy manager role, then an assistant manager role. And then at the end of that 6 months, you run your own store for a month as a store manager. It's completely your responsibility. So I did that in Reading. So I did all my training in Reading, and then I ran one of our Reading stores for a whole month on my own, just as the store manager, which was super exciting, and got to do loads of just like people work and in the store. And then once you kind of know everything there is to know about leading a store and everything you know there is about leading a team, you then kind of start your area manager training, which again is over kind of 6 months. As the team have mentioned, you get to work with a range of mentors. So I had a couple different mentors and experienced area managers who train you to become the best area manager that you can possibly be, and really work with you on a day-to-day basis to make sure you get the most out of both yourself and out of your learning with the business. So really that training scheme for that whole first year is really focused on developing you as a person, an individual and a leader before you get your own stores, which is a fantastic opportunity because there's not many other businesses out there that invest such a lot into you at such a young age and give you such a high level of responsibility. For example, I'm now sat here 24 and I have stores that turn over £1.4 million every single week. And I'm the one with the keys to those stores and I'm the one who has to look after them. I have about 100 people who report directly into me, below me, which at my age, as you can imagine, is just extremely fast and extremely accelerated program. So you definitely work hard at Aldi, and I'm not going to lie to you that it's probably one of the hardest things you'd ever would have done. But the reward from that, both personally and professionally, is humongous. So it's one of the most rewarding feelings after that 1 year when you get your keys to your store, and that's it. You kind of get to go out, you run the store. I decide, obviously to an extent, but what happens in my store, I decide who I hire, how the store wants to run, what the best way to do things are. I'm autonomous in that. Which is the benefit of being an area manager, is that it's quite an autonomous role, and the fact that you can I set my own work week, I set my own kind of hours as long as I'm getting the job done and I'm working to my contract. The business gives me the freedom and gives me the choice to decide how that best fits for me in my stores, because that could look very different for different people. Some area managers work great getting in early at 7 a.m. and doing all their admin and going home a bit earlier. Some area managers come in a bit later and then they work into the evening. Obviously, our stores are open for a wide range of periods. So I need to see them on a Sunday, on a Saturday. I want to see them at 7, 8 p.m. in the evening when they run some days. So it gives me the flexibility in my job role to do that. and really means that I get to not work that kind of 9 to 5 lifestyle. When I was looking at other graduate schemes, for example, I applied a PwC, and I had a job to do a 9 to 5 auditing role. And it was a great opportunity. I'm sure most of you have heard of PwC and have probably applied there yourselves, because they offer some great opportunities. But for me as an individual, I wanted a job where I could do something different every single day. And I love that I couldn't tell you 2 days that I do the same thing every day when I walk in the store. It's a different problem. And not to like scare you off, but that's the fun of the role, is that I get to solve problems every single day. I see my job role as more of a fixer, in the terms of that when my store manager needs something or needs some support, I'm there to help offer and guide them to what the right answer is. And I get to do that across a range of stores, and seeing all of those stores perform individually, and those people develop within themselves, is probably one of the most rewarding parts of the job role for me personally. Is getting to see others develop while you develop too, which is really fantastic. And it's just a fantastic opportunity with Aldi to experience all of these things. I have friends in a range of job roles and a range of kind of different experiences, and when I tell them what I do on a day-to-day basis, I leave the room with their jaws drop, because they can't believe some of the stories I come up with, of crazy customers, crazy things that happen in store. But that's what we love about the job. And if you are successful and you do work for Aldi, I promise you that you're going to become Aldi mad. At home, it's what you talk about. With your friends, it's what you talk about. Everything kind of becomes Aldi. And it's not because it's your job and you take it home with you. It's because you just come to love the business so much, and you're involved with it at such a deep level, that really it does become part of kind of your personality, but in a really beneficial way. That means that I have the confidence that the business trusts me and the business backs me, and they see me as part of the business, and I'm not just another employee and another number. I really am an individual within Aldi. And as much as I support my teams to flourish, my boss, my director, supports me, and he gives me what I need to flourish and what I need to kind of do my job well. So you definitely feel supported at every step of the stage. And I would say there wasn't a single time in Aldi that I thought that there wasn't someone I could reach out to or talk to about any question I ever had. So it's a really exciting opportunity to be a part of. And as kind of the last slide mentioned, obviously with all this responsibility does come a very exciting package, to get to drive a nice shiny car, get your holiday days and your whole host of benefits, which is really overall as a package, as a graduate, and a graduate scheme, not many else offers. The other great thing about Aldi is that your contract as a graduate is kind of a permanent contract, whereas a lot of graduate schemes might only offer you a contract for 1 or 2 years, and then they reevaluate at the end of those years. My graduate contract is a permanent position of employment, so I don't have to worry in a year from now that I might have to re-interview or reapply for a new department. I know, and for me, that I love Aldi and this is where I want to be. So that's where I'm going to be for the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, because Aldi is a place where you get a career. You don't really see people leave Aldi that much, which is quite rare. And the reason for that is because, number one, the package isn't really compensated anywhere else, but also that responsibility and that career progression isn't anywhere else. Everyone in the business starts as an area manager. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people start as an area manager who go into the corporate side of the business. So the CEO, for example, was an area manager. Our group buying director was an area manager. Our group head of buying was an area manager. My director was an area manager. So you can see the progression of where people have started and where they are today. And obviously they do it in different timelines and different speeds. And there's nothing wrong with that. But everyone has that in common, that they all started from the same point and have worked their way up. And a lot of companies, people come across the company and they come in a higher role. But at Aldi, I don't think I've ever seen that happen. At a level above director, and it's always internal promotion, and that's the same ethos we use in our stores. That many of our store managers started as store assistants. So to see that progression, as someone looking for a career and someone very young in my career who wants to go far with a business, inspires me, that I know that I don't have to start looking elsewhere if I want to progress. That there's options available in Aldi. Along with some of the stuff that hasn't been mentioned, is there's opportunities to do secondments. So many of our area managers go to Australia, America, some go to Germany for a couple of years, which is fantastic to get to go experience and live abroad for 2 years and experience the business from another perspective that you might not get elsewhere, and still have your job to come back to in the UK. Other things include, I've had friends in Aldi who had a really big interest in sustainability, and they've gone and done a secondment in the sustainability department, in the buying department, and HR department. So just because you start as an area manager, you might have a passion for something. With the business, you can actually use that passion, and it can still become your part of your career, which is also really exciting for someone who has a lot of interests in different areas of the business, like logistics and transportation. Means that I definitely know down the line, if that's something that I want to go into and something that I want to consider as my job role, that Aldi, there's the opportunity at Aldi for me to go in there, and I would never have to think about leaving the business or going elsewhere. In fact, that the company I'm in recognizes that as individuals, we have desires and needs that we want to go to different departments and different places, and that they can kind of support us through that. So all in all, I really couldn't recommend the graduate scheme enough to anyone looking for excitement, looking for drive, who's looking to be motivated, and really is wanting to be trusted with a whole load of responsibility at a young age, but something that is probably the most exciting thing I do day to day. I can't say that I ever walk into work and look at my watch or wonder where home time is, because I get into work, I completely just hit the ground running, and before I know it, I'm clocking off and going home, which is fantastic. So I don't think the one word I would never use to describe Aldi in a million years is boring. Aldi is the opposite of that. If you ever come into Aldi and you're bored, then you're doing something seriously wrong, because I'd be impressed if you managed to do that. But yeah, so I think we might answer some questions now, if I'm not mistaken.
We just got a few more slides before we.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'll hand back to you guys then to go through kind of the rest of the slides.
Yeah, thank you, Jake, so much. I really hope that's given everyone a great understanding of kind of the responsibility. We touched on development opportunities and all of the support that's offered to you during the graduate scheme and beyond. So the slide on screen at the moment kind of shows you a little bit of an overview of our makeup. Essentially, we have 13 regions across the UK and Ireland where we recruit for graduate area managers. So each region has their own regional office with distribution centre. And we spoke quite a lot about the area manager scheme, but we are very much aware that there are opportunities in Aldi for those that may not want to consider a role in store ops. Our national head office is based in Atherstone in the Midlands, and there we have lots of different opportunities for people who may consider something outside of store ops. So located in Atherstone, like I said, we recruit all year round for these roles. The offices themselves are fast-moving, dynamic, open-planned environments with over 1,400 colleagues. Everything that happens there drives our stores and logistics side of the business, and the business, depends on the actions and decisions made at our head office. So it's a place where all of our colleagues are trusted to think for themselves and take ownership over their role. So there's opportunities available across multiple business areas, from finance, supply chain, buying, IT. You can see some of those on screen at the moment. Digital and e-commerce, just to name a few, with quite an attractive starting salary of £30,000 or £33,000. So if you are interested in those roles as well, there's lots more information in our recruitment website, which is fantastic. And if you do have any questions about those, drop it into our chat and we'll hope to answer those at the end. So next up then, I believe I'm handed over to Tammy, my colleague, who will take us through a little bit more about the actual recruitment process itself. We did mention at the beginning we're going to give some insider information.
Slightly drifted off screen, so apologies for that. And you will have had half of my head for the majority of the discussions at the beginning. But as Vicky mentioned, I'm now going to talk you through the application process for the graduate area manager role, and then hopefully give you some useful hints and tips to help you progress with your application. As we've mentioned again throughout, you're more than welcome to take notes, and we will obviously hold a question and answer session at the end as well. Okay, so the application process is outlined on screen, but I'm going to take you through them stage by stage. So essentially we have 5 stages to our application process for the graduate area manager role. So the first stage is the online application form. So where our open questions in the application form will allow you to tell us everything you know about Aldi and why you want to be an area manager and join our amazing team. We're going to ask you a whole variety of questions about what motivates and inspires you. You can use examples from anything in your life. including hobbies, societies, and employment. There's lots to get in here, so please don't rush it. Make sure you read it through, or better still, get someone else to proofread it for you. So the second stage is our video interview, where first impressions really do go a long way. So have a think about where you want to record your interview and how you want to present yourself. Make sure that they relate the questions, but it's something that we're going to remember. The third stage is online testing. So if successful at video interview stages, you'll be emailed with a link to complete our online psychometrics testing. It's basically been designed to measure your core skills and personal qualities, as well to see if we are right for you and you are right for us. The fourth stage, the group assessment stages. We're currently holding virtual group assessments. So although it might not be face-to-face, it's still really important that you prepare. So have a think about how you want to present yourself and how you want to engage with your assessor. Make sure you get your knowledge of the company across, but give other candidates the opportunity to showcase their skills too. So at this stage, we are looking for leaders, but you also need to be able to work well with a variety of different people within a team if you're successful. So show us how you can do this. And then finally, the final interview stages. As Jake alluded to before, the people that you need to impress when you get to the final interview stages are our managing directors. And as we mentioned, they will have been with the business for many of years and held successful roles, and most being successful area managers themselves. So they will be the ones that are responsible for hiring you. And they're going to be focusing on 3 key areas. So they will focus on all areas of your life and not just your work. So the main key focus is you. The second key area is being able to talk through Aldi. So really it's key to get your research in. And we also want to see your drive and passion for the business. And thirdly, we're looking for you to demonstrate certain competencies. So leadership, teamwork, collaboration are all really important parts to get across here. Okay. I'm now going to talk through some hints and tips. So personality. First impressions go a long way. We receive lots of applications to our programme each year. You really need to stand out from the crowd. So think outside the box with your examples and really let your personality shine through. As I mentioned before, proofread and practice. Check your work. There is no time limit on the online application. So ensure that you take your time and think of the best answers. And also get friends and family to proofread your application, because this is your first impression to the business. There's also an opportunity to practice your video interview to ensure that you're prepared for the real thing. Leadership and teamwork. To be a successful area manager, again, as Jake has mentioned, you'll need to be able to lead by example and work well within teams. Our Aldi stores are successful due to the excellent teamwork that we encourage, as well as the high standards we set. So ahead of your application, think of strong examples which you feel will really be able to demonstrate this, and be sure to structure your answers. Within this role, you'll have to roll up your sleeves and work together. And research Aldi. We recommend to visit Aldi stores. Make sure to do your research of Aldi and our business model. Our website is a great starting point. We've got a lot of information on there for you to read and watch. We've also now have the digital graduate brochure, and I would definitely suggest reading this in detail just to fully understand what will be expected of you in role. The Grocer is a great external publication. There's a lot of articles about Aldi, but also on our competitors and the wider retail market. And to take note of any questions that you might have whilst doing your research, as there's opportunity at the end, if you're successful, to ask these questions both at group assessment and at your final interview stages. And finally, be punctual. Be punctual and dress professionally if you are successful in attending a group assessment or final interview. As we mentioned, all of our group assessments are currently being held virtually, so we recommend checking your camera, audio and Wi-Fi prior to attending, and final interviews are taking place in person. So if you're successful, check the location and be sure to plan your journey. Okay, so I'm now going to talk you through the group assessment. So the group assessment structure, our role as assessors, and what we are looking for. As previously mentioned, feel free to take any notes and we can pick them up in a Q&A at the end. Okay, so the group assessment. We start by providing a brief presentation about Aldi, and we'll do some introductions just to put any nerves at ease before the assessment and before we move into the more formal part of the activities. Once we've completed the introductions, we'll move on to the first activity, and then we'll take a short break for you to forget about us for at least 10 minutes for the first half of the assessment, and you can push that to one side. The second half of the assessment is an individual task, which will lead into a group discussion between all of the candidates. Once the activity is complete, the assessor will then provide some information about next steps in the process. Again, this is a great time for you to ask any questions about the role, the recruitment process, and Aldi if it's not already been covered in your assessment so far. As assessors, we have a lot of responsibility throughout the assessment to ensure that you have a positive, inclusive, and fair experience. We assess each of you individually, not as a group, and we do this by assessing against the core competencies required of the role. We do take notes, and you'll probably see us do this, but what we write is purely factual. It's our role to ensure that everyone is treated fairly throughout the process, and again, to ensure consistency and create that inclusive environment. Reasonable adjustments will be discussed before if candidates have requested anything to be made within the process, and we will always use our discretion. We're not here to trip you up or catch you out. We really want you to enjoy the experience as best you can. So try to put the nerves to one side, and it's our job to make sure that you're feeling comfortable throughout the assessment. So what are we looking for at this stage? On screen, you'll see displayed some of the qualities and characteristics that as an assessor, we believe are really important to display during the group assessment. So to have a genuine interest and enthusiasm for our business and a career opportunity with us. Be able to identify key information within the tasks. Show that you have leadership qualities, that you can take control and give direction when necessary, but without overpowering others. That you can listen and understand others' thoughts and value their ideas, that you can be an effective decision maker, but you can also drive the group towards a conclusion, that you can work with others, be a team player, and ensure that everyone gets their say, communicate confidently, clearly, and professionally throughout. You will see on screen our QR code, which will take you directly to our graduate brochure and our reply links. Before we finish with our Q&A time, I really want to take the opportunity to thank you all for joining our webinar today. We really hope that listening to myself, Vicky and Jake, it's given you an insight into our graduate programmes and our current head office opportunities also. And for anyone joining us from a mobile device, the QR link is probably best, might not be displayed properly on screen. So we have provided a link to our recruitment website and the graduate brochure, which will pop into the chat, and we will look forward to receiving your applications. I think we're now going to open up to a Q&A session.
Yep, so I've just been monitoring the chat function. So first of all, thank you so much for so many questions being dropped in there. So we will work our way through those. I can see that Jake has been a hit with everyone that's online today, because a lot of the questions have been directed towards yourself, Jake. So we will work our way through the questions. And if you do have any more questions, keep putting them into the chat, because we have around about 20 minutes, or is it 20 minutes? No, I think we've got about 20 minutes to answer questions. So keep putting them into the chat function there. Okay. So let's have a little look. Okay. So Alana has asked, I have been looking at the graduate brochure, which is fantastic. And we've also shared in there a little bit about international secondments. Now, I know that Jake did touch on this, but Tammy, do you want to maybe bring to life some of the secondments that we have internationally, and maybe some experience that we've had of area manager colleagues moving to other countries on secondment?
Yeah, of course. So a lot of our colleagues in HR have actually I hope this says nothing about us, Vicky, but I've recently taken some secondments across to Austria. So within Aldi, obviously, we've got quite a lot of new initiatives. We're kind of at the forefront with evolving technologies, and some of our colleagues have moved across to Austria to head up sort of a lot of these projects as well. So we have our Ahead project, Workday, and the teams that are based here have kind of taken their experience from within HR as well, and gone across to Austria to do some exciting project work, which we get a lot of feedback, and they're constantly coming back and showing us how beautiful it is over there whilst we're looking out at the dreary weather over here. So there's definitely a lot that's advertised internally and on our internal jobs board as well. I know Jake mentioned before, but I've previously worked on our regional recruitment team where I work quite closely with a lot of area managers. And as Jake mentioned as well, there's a lot of secondments within the area manager position to go and sort of head up projects abroad as well. I don't know if you want to touch on some of those that you've experienced or colleagues on your side as well, Jake.
Yes, no, of course. So, I know of quite a few colleagues who managed to go away. So definitely the main ones that stick out to me is quite a few people gone to Australia. That always goes over really well. So you spend 2 years in Australia. We have an area manager in Swindon who's literally going next week to Australia on a 2-year secondment. So as you can imagine, she's absolutely buzzing. She's moving to Newcastle, which is just above Sydney, literally within walking distance from the beach. So as you can imagine, over here in Swindon, we're all very jealous, and we're expecting some really good photos from her. Other area managers I know have gone to America, whether that be Texas or Florida. A lot of the area managers who've had the opportunity to go on secondment are now directors. So it's definitely a very, very good opportunity to get experience in the business. 2 years to learn about how they do stuff abroad and bring that experience back to the UK is really invaluable for us in the UK, because we don't even see how they do it. So when someone does come back from secondment, it's really exciting because we get to learn loads about what they do abroad and what their experience have been, and if they're doing anything that we're not doing. And the same for them, that we get to share our best practice and how they're going. But really, there's opportunity wherever there's an Aldi South. So yeah, I mean, I think most area managers hope one day to go on secondment. I'd love to go to America for a couple of years. I think that'd be really exciting. So definitely something that I'm kind of working towards, and that we all have the opportunity to kind of. But obviously, saying that, it doesn't mean that it's for everyone. Lots of people don't want to go abroad for 2 years, and that's absolutely fine. You don't need to do that to be successful within Aldi. As kind of Vicky has mentioned, there's other secondments that people have done to different departments. And even some people just stay as an area manager in the UK and progress through that. There's not one set route to anywhere in Aldi. So there's really a lot of opportunity to those who want it and to those who want to go somewhere a bit different.
Thank you. So I hope that answered your question. Great question from Alana. So another question that's come in from Olivia is, what area is the graduate program based in? So I'll take this one. So essentially, as we mentioned, we do have regions based across the UK and Ireland. So we have 11 regions across England, Wales and Scotland, and 2 in the south of Ireland. And we are recruiting for graduate area managers in all of those regions. So they span the lengths and breadths of the UK. And each of the regions have their own kind of regional office with distribution centre. And of course, the regions vary. So I would definitely have a little look at the lengths and breadths of what that looks like. Because, for example, our Bathgate region, which is in the north of the country, right up to Scotland, is huge, whereas Bolton region is significantly smaller. So I would say definitely go onto our recruitment website, where we have a really great map of the UK, where it's broken down region by region. But we are looking for area managers across all of those regions at the moment. Okay, so I hope that answered your question, Olivia. We've got a couple of questions from Cody, so we'll answer them at the same time. So the first one is, hi Jake, he said, or she said, what is the biggest challenge you have faced in your role so far? Good question. Great question.
Yeah, a very good question. That's definitely a tough one, as you can imagine in most roles, there's quite a few challenges. I'd say that the biggest challenge is probably just the adjustment going from university to a working job. Obviously, that is quite a big switch. There's a lot of similarities, but definitely kind of that first kind of 2-month window when you go from doing studies, especially having a nice summer off, to then being in full-time work and full-time employment can be quite a jump. But definitely kind of what helped prepare me for that was going to university, attending classes, but also just for that first kind of 2 months, throwing my everything at it. And then after that, you really don't notice it anymore, if that makes sense. So that was definitely a challenge, but definitely very one to overcome. I'd probably say one of my other challenges more based in Aldi Probably managing people that are significantly older than you. So I have 2 store managers. One of them is 57 years old, and he's been with the business longer than I've been alive. So he joined Aldi before I was born, and I now manage him. So as you can imagine, on paper, that seems very scary. Like, wow, he's literally lived my whole life at Aldi. And basically how I overcome that is, number one, it's just having that level of respect that we're both here to do a job, and we both do our job, and we work together to do that. And number two, it's making sure that I'm good at my job in a way that I know what I'm talking about. And because he knows that I'm confident in what I'm saying, he can trust in me. And as much as I manage him, I still ask him for advice and things, because he's a wealth of knowledge and it'd be foolish of me not to recognize that. So definitely when you come in, that can be quite scary, as a lot of the store managers you'll be working with will be significantly older than you. And learning to manage those relationships can be quite a change from being at university, where everyone you're with is kind of your peers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So another one then from Cody, just while we're answering those questions, is how many hours do you work as an area manager? So Jake, over to you for that one.
Yeah. So from kind of November, so I'm contracted to 45 hours per week. So that's my contract hours. Although I'll be very honest with you, in Aldi, we do sign a working time directive, which means that I kind of work as much as my job needs to be done. I'd say in the beginning, you probably work a little bit more during that first year as you're learning the business. So I would probably say I work anywhere realistically between 50 to 55 hours per week to begin with. But that's not to say that there isn't fluctuations with that. Sometimes I have a more quiet week and I might do 45, maybe a little bit less. Sometimes if you have a big recruitment event on and you're there till 7 p.m, I might do a little bit more. So definitely the hours fluctuate. I think what's important to remember, though, although it seems like a lot of hours in like on paper, as I kind of alluded to a bit earlier, you have the flexibility to do those hours as works for you. I also get to work 20% of my hours from home, which again sounds a bit weird because I have to be in store to do a lot of my job. But part of my job role is recruitment, and that's all done online. So I don't need to necessarily be in the store when I'm doing my online applications and going through what recruitment I have to do. So I can do those from home. So that definitely helps with my work-life balance, being able to do some days from home, some days in store, and being able to take the days off in a weekday when I can go do my shopping and go pick up my dry cleaning, whatever that you normally couldn't do on a weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Jake. Okay, so next up we have Oliver has put in a question that is, what would you say is your favourite part about being at Aldi? And I think we probably all have something to say about that, and it might be worth us kind of really briefly bringing our own points of view for this, because we're 3 colleagues in 3 completely different roles and have been with the business in different lengths of time and things like that. So I think for me personally, my background has always been in hospitality. So I was a HR manager within hospitality, which very much didn't encourage any kind of work-life balance, if I'm quite honest. Even as an HR manager within hospitality, you were expected to be on call, at the drop of a hat when the business was open, and some of my previous sites were open till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So just kind of that work-life balance wasn't there. So since joining Aldi, from a wellness point of view, you're really encouraged to put your own personal life at the forefront of your mind when you're making decisions, and having that work-life balance has been incredible. And kind of the wellness side of it, benefits, etc. And that focus really on, I know Jake was saying you never really watch your kind of clock to see what time you're going to finish. You are really busy when you're in work, but me personally, I'm able to kind of leave work in work and go home and spend time with my family without the kind of worry of what's happening at work. And one of the kind of biggest things that I've really loved is the fact that every single person has what we call a cover partner. So when you're not in the business, you have someone else that is covering for you, which is an absolute dream. When kind of going on annual leave in previous roles, I've almost dreaded going on holiday for fear of kind of coming back to a full inbox and lots of unfinished tasks or pieces of work that haven't moved forward, whereas you have a cover partner within Aldi that kind of helps to cover things for you when you're not here, so you come back to a bit of a more steady state when you return to work, which is good. That's it for me.
Yeah, I think for me, so I actually work with Vicky. Vicky's my team leader, so I'm not being paid to say this. I am just paid to work at Aldi. But for me, I've worked here for 3 years. Prior to Aldi, I've always worked in recruitment. My last role I was actually up for 9.5 years. So it was a big thing for me to come over to Aldi. And I think it's the opportunity that I've been given. So we have sort of no days the same within HR as same as obviously for Jake within an area manager role, but it's different opportunities. Aldi have put me through my CIPD level 5, which really just kind of underpins the HR elements. Like I said, I'm from sort of a heavily recruitment background, but it's the opportunity this sounds like I'm repeating the beginning of the presentation. I'm not, but it is the opportunity to get involved. So I've been involved with different projects, working within diversity and inclusion, working on a reasonable adjustment process. So things that I've initiated and that have come from my idea and that I've actually seen progress and are on our application form. And it's been able to make those positive changes and the collaborative working within the different departments as well. I've never been able to experience that working for one organisation before. So it's just opened up so many doors of opportunity for me.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we have some more questions still coming in, which is fabulous. So Evie, I'll answer your question. So do you get to stay on at Aldi after you finish your graduate program? So the short answer to that is yes. You, unlike other graduate programs where you're on essentially a fixed term contract for 1 or maybe 2 years at a push, here at Aldi, our graduate roles are permanent positions. You will not have to reapply for the role or wonder about what happens next. So you will be a permanent colleague as an area manager at Aldi. So no, you don't have to leave after the 12 months. And then we have some people have asked a lot about the application form, for example. So I think probably Jake would be good to answer this one. Zach has asked, do you have any hints and tips about the 5-minute Who Am I video? So the video interview, obviously Jake has done a successful one and made it through the process. So any hints and tips from your perspective on what to include or what's important when you're doing your video interview?
I think, yeah, there's definitely a few things that come to mind. As a couple of them have been touched on already in the presentation, is kind of that presentation. As you said, imagine it's kind of another person on the other end of the screen. When they click show video on that kind of link, that's the first time that they're going to see you in person. And I always thought at the back of my mind, I need them to see me as an area manager. So I wanted to present myself to the level and standard that an area manager would have had in the business. So definitely for me, that was something that I took into the role. Although saying that, something else that we probably did touch on slightly is that definitely be yourself. Mm-hmm. I think in my video interview, I ended up talking about my cats. Like when you normally wouldn't have think that you do that in an application for a business. I can't recall exactly how it came up, but I remember thinking, I was like, oh crap, why did I say that kind of thing? But definitely it obviously came across good enough to go through. So I'd say don't fall into the trap of saying what you think that the person would want to hear. As you can imagine, I think there's thousands and thousands and thousands of applicants for this role. And if the person recruiting hears the same line about how Aldi was started in Germany and how it was 2 brothers one more time, I think their heads might roll off. So really don't be afraid to be yourself and express your own emotions on your own interests. As an area manager team, we're really diverse and really inclusive. And so we look for a range of different people to make our team. There's definitely not one cookie cutter shape that makes an area manager. So don't be afraid to kind of show your personality and show what makes you good for the job role. Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. And then the other main thing I'd say is, again, it's kind of that practice. I think you do get a couple times in the video interview, for example, to redo it. But beforehand, I remember talking to a mirror and I had a few ideas that I wanted to talk about and questions I thought might come up. And that definitely helped take away that nervous energy beforehand, because you don't really want to come across as that kind of really pent up person, but just having that kind of confidence to go through it, or do it with your mum and get your mum to read out some practice questions on the other side of the table. All of that, I feel that really helped me in preparing for the job role. And definitely, yeah, being that prepared, go into the Aldi store, speak to a store manager, speak to an assistant store manager if you can, ask a store assistant what their favorite product is and why they like it. Our teams are really friendly, and I hope if those of you who do shop at Aldi would have already seen that, but they're definitely not afraid to have a chat with the customer And if you say, look, I'm looking for a job at Aldi, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? That's what I did in Oxford when I was at university. So don't be afraid to go and do that and get some inside information, as everything you can kind of put under your barrel is just another advantage that you might have over that someone else hasn't put in that time or effort to do. So stuff like that, I think, really gets you prepared and mentally in a good place for that application process.
Definitely. And just to build on that ever so slightly, there aren't a number of options to retake, unfortunately. So before we get flooded with millions of retake questions, you do get a practice question at the beginning. So it's definitely important, as what Jake said, really practice. And it does sound a little bit cheesy, but practice in front of the mirror. If you think about the application process, it's like a natural progression through the stages. So each stage, we get to learn a little bit more about you and about your personality as well. So the application form itself will kind of give you a few key indicators as to what may come up in the video interview. So definitely our website, again, is a great source of information to help you succeed within those video interview stages. And the people watching your video interviews, we've all been through it ourselves. We had to conduct a video interview to get to our position. So we fully understand nerves. But like Jake said, if you just prepare yourself for the position that you're going for, that's a great bit of advice. Thank you, Jake.
We probably only got time now for about 2 more questions. So I'm going to summarise kind of a few questions that have been asked that are quite similar about what are the skills that we're looking for when completing an application with Aldi. So both myself and Tammy are part of the Aldi graduate recruitment team. So we look at all 4,500 applications that we get for all of our roles across the season. So we see every single application, every video interview. So we know exactly what we're looking for. And what I would say really is we're very much aware that when we're recruiting graduates, we are recruiting on potential. You won't have a long CV full of examples professionally where you've been able to deliver, solutions or show that you're passionate about quality or that you are an empathetic leader or things like that. So we're really looking for people who can show us examples of what they've done throughout university, in their personal life, through societies and hobbies and things like that, to show that you are a born leader, that you can confidently communicate, that you're driven and passionate. And overall, we're looking for people that want to work for us. It's a very competitive graduate scheme and lots of people want to work for us. So it's important that in your application it comes across that you want to work for Aldi and you know the reasons why. So I would encourage you to really think about that before you apply. And then finally, I think it's a really good question is, let me just find it. Someone has asked, and Jake, you're probably best kind of answering this one, is as you kind of in your experience so far, do you have quite a good support system in terms of building friendships, socializing with each other, building relationships with area managers? Essentially, you are going to all have different groups of stores in different areas. So is that support there, and do you socialize and things like that together?
Yeah, no, I think that's an absolutely fantastic question. Obviously, as an area manager, you are an individual. You will have your own areas. So no, I don't see an area manager every single day. But my support system is fantastic in Aldi. As I mentioned, I've only been back a year. And in that year, I've attended the wedding of one of my mentors. So my mentor got married and I went to her wedding, which was only a few weeks ago. So that was fantastic. So I definitely managed to build that relationship really quick and definitely made a really strong friend there. In fact, I'm moving in with another area manager, so I'm going to live with another area manager because we're in similar areas and both were looking for housing. So we thought, great, let's live together for a little bit. Fantastic. And that was very quick. Some of the people I see the most outside of work and pick up the phone to are my other area managers. I think one of the skills you learn is picking up the phone to people really well because we're in the car. I'm in the car driving to a store. If I have a spare half an hour, I think, I'll give my friend a buzz, see how he's getting on. So although it is not an isolated role because you're within your teams and your stores all the time, your peers can be at a different position than you. I'd say we definitely stay in contact. In Swindon, we probably go out about once every couple months, whether that be to London or whether that be to an event or a party or something. We definitely make sure that we do something all together as one. So you definitely build lifelong friends and connections across the whole area manager role. And Aldi is a bigger business.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. What a great insight, a real world insight into Aldi, and just sounds, yeah, really loads of tips and advice in there as well. So remember, the session will be recorded, so you can come back to it later if you couldn't keep up with your note taking, or if you want to revisit anything for inspiration. Other than that, thank you so much for your presentation again, just so insightful. And yeah, that's it from us. So thank you for coming, and yeah, see you again.
Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.